Welcome to a Gunfire build showcase. Today we're taking a look at Lyn, the Frost Mage. With this setup, not only will you be able to clear areas with ease, but you also melt bosses so fast. It's incredible. And if you haven't unlocked it yet, you get the added bonus of getting her signature border, which is pretty cool. Now, the best parts of this build will be insanely big AoE clears, especially when you get everything up and running. It has a really strong single target once you start to get all of the rune setups. And you're just gonna feel like a mage because you're gonna be pressing your primary skill all the time. So let's get into the things that you require to get this build properly functioning. Now, for the Ascensions. We are focusing heavily on the dark blue side, the Cold Silence. This will enhance our Frost Burial, which is our primary skill. There are two main ones that we are looking here, specifically because bossing cooldown is a bit awkward. We're looking to get Frostbite Edge as high as we can, and we are looking to get Winter is Coming. The way this interaction will work is every time you target anything with Frost Burial, they become unbalanced, but it has a long cooldown of 12 seconds. But if you shattered a weak spot, you get a refund of a bit of a cooldown. All this will then transfer is the Frostbite Edge makes it that you refund if the target is unbalanced, and it refunds a lot of the cooldown per mark that you put on the target. So our focus will be get as much primary skill capacity as we can. We stack up the marks, and then we proc unbalanced, which we can proc with Winter is Coming, and then we can just refund all of the cooldown and just keep spamming it. You don't fully require Winter is Coming, but this is if you fully want to just press primary. As the other way to become unbalanced is either by a secondary Spirit Blessing, which we don't focus on getting, so it's a bit of a gamble, or is just by shooting a target on their weak spot, which requires shooting and requires you to stack up one of our character passives. For the rest of the build is pretty straightforward. You get Bitter Wind Rush, just to get the most AoE possible, to have smooth clears. You have Lethal Chill, not only does it get initial value of lethal line for the execute, you get even more after shattering weak spots. And then you get Sudden Frost. Sudden Frost, especially the level 3, is also able to trigger the weak spots, which when shattering grant you unbalance. This will help you a lot later on. Now, if you don't get any of the blue, of the Cold Silence part, there's still a few ones that might not look interesting as a pick, but they are really, really important. And this one is Frosty Gaze. It reduces the generation of weak spots. Because of this, and because it also increases the cap at maximum, it will help us with the Winter is Coming, because we want to shatter a lot of weak spots, so we want to generate as much weak spots as we can. And then the secondary one is Chill Accumulation, because when shattering weak spots, we actually get skill damage. So this is not totally worthless. After this one, everything else is pretty bad. You can use for defenses Cold Wave Surge, which gives us a temporary shield and movement speed, and you can use Frozen Vortex in order to just kind of CC enemies. Same thing with Freezing Time, which is a damage bonus, but because we're trying to get Ancient Timer, it will be on 3-second cooldown. It's a bit of a non-combo situation. So, and finally is Icy Defense. Icy Defense is quite worthy of talking. This is an interesting way of getting resistances. This does not give you a flat amount of resistances like many other characters have. This is a multiplier. And this is a multiplier either positively or negatively. And why is that? And this is because of her special character passive, Frostblood. She gains weapon and skill damage for every damage resistance that she has positively, but she actually gets double that if she goes into the negatives. So if you get a Spirit Feline in a run, you can theoretically go Frostblood and go unbalanced, and every time you go unbalanced, you double that, and you go even further into downwards resistances, which is way better because positive resistances only go up to 90%, while negative resistances, as far as I know, has no cap. In Season 7, you have a survival rune, Vitality Flow. This gives you HP per negative damage resistance, and it increases heavily as you go, so it will help you out in terms of just being still tanky while having negative resistances. This is an interesting pickup if you want to go for that alleyway. I didn't want to, but if you want to go for a longer, endless run, this is a great pickup. While we are in the topic of her passives, Icy Internal is also very interesting, especially if you don't get the Ascension to get the Unbalanced. Basically, every time you execute something, you gain stacks, and every stack will grant you a higher chance of crossing Unbalanced, which means when you shoot one of those little orbs, they will cause Unbalanced, which refunds your cooldown if they have a lot of stacks on your boss. Usually it will not be an issue, but early on, if you have some struggles with getting back some cooldown and you have Frost Burial stacks, this is a good way. And finally is Chill Overflow. This is pretty good, especially while you are just walking around, and you'll see why, because it makes the runs really fast. When she executes anyone, she increases the AoE and refunds a portion of the cooldown. So while you're just clearing areas, you're just refunding the cooldown by default, so you're always spamming and spamming and spamming. So that's why you see when we pick up our runes, we heavily focus on bossing, because outside of bossing, she is pretty easy to just keep using her cooldown. Now, for the rune selection. There's quite a few, and I've tried a few combinations. There's 2 starters that you can immediately pick. So when you start, you get offered this 2 specific skill boosters that we could pick from. We got Strength Taker or Skill Boost. Now this is kinda up to you. I've played with both. They're both pretty good, and you can find both while you're running, but you need to choose one. I tried Skill Boost early. It feels strong. It feels solid. There's a 5% chance, or a 2% chance if you get it to 6, which early is kind of impossible, but as you progress, there's a chance to deal an extra instance of damage, which is pretty good. But it's also a final damage multiplier, which is very important. As for Strength Taker, it's not a final damage multiplier, it's just a final damage increase. But it gives you a baseline cooldown reduction, which is pretty nice early. However, as you keep casting your ultimate, which you do cast a lot, it ramps up the cooldown, but also gives you damage. I tried 2 runs, one where I focused on Strength Taker, one where I focused on just Skill Boost. Strength Taker did more damage, but sometimes in some situations in bosses, I had no cooldown, and I kinda had to wait, because this heavily increases my cooldown. So, overall, I would say Skill Boost is just enough damage to just progress you through the campaign without going endless. Maybe Strength Taker is a bit better for endless, but that's up to your choice. So for my recommendations, the starter is up to you, Skill Boost or Strength Taker. Now, then you want to focus on either Gale Chain, Energy Focus, or Cooldown Acceleration. Any of these 3 are major upgrades. Gale Chain is a half, is a little bit of cooldown reduction for your primary, and a chance to obtain a temporary primary skill use. So every time you're spamming it, every time you deal 5 hits, you then get a chance to get another temporary use. Then you have Energy Focus. This gives you flat out primary skill usages, and gives you primary skill damage per instance of primary skill that we have. This stacks later, and it becomes really good. A big one, and this one you might want to focus earlier, is just Cooldown Accelerating. It's just flat out cooldown reduction and it gives you extra up to 7.5 per active, and you can have up to 3 of these, so it really helps you later on. Then to scale up your damage, we have Skill Chain. This is on level 8, 50% chance to deal 1 extra hit with 40% damage, or 15% chance to deal 2 extra hits with 40% of base damage, which is pretty nice. Since we're spamming so much, it will happen a lot. And then we have Arcane Storm. This is the least gambling part compared to Skill Chain. This is every time we hit the enemy with a primary skill, it just increases their damage taken. This is a multiplier. It's really good. And because later on we were going to spam a lot of primaries, they will melt. And finally, this one is if you're feeling squishy and you don't want to go for an endless run and you don't want to go all with the unbalance, reduction of resistances, if you don't get Spirit Feline early, you might want to try and get Hardened Shell. If you take damage, you get up to 40% damage resistance at level 8, and there's a chance of gaining temporary primary skill. You can also abuse this if you have Airbag. You can constantly trigger for damage, or if you have bloody ammo. Just by never reloading your gun, you're always taking damage, so you're always blocking this. It's a helpful thing, especially if you need some resistances early, because you might be a bit squishy. These are for the runes. Now, for the scrolls. You want to look for some specific scrolls. I'm not going to put all of them here, but I'm going to just point out the specific scrolls that you will heavily get bonus from. From the blue scrolls, you should just get Enduring Caster. You get skill damage per 5 total max HP you currently have, so make sure you're always healthy. This does not go well with Airbag. Just to understand, this is per HP that you currently have, not total HP. And that's mostly the strongest one you can get in the blue side. The other one would be Undivided Attention, if you just want to just purely cast spells. If you're just going to cast your primary, this is going to be the best. From the purple side, however, we have quite a few. We have Ancient Timer. Ancient Timer is just insane. It's 50% cooldown for our primary, and the downside is just making our secondary have 3 seconds, which we barely even cast. Another great one is Rampage Time. Rampage Time gives us another 40% primary skill cooldown that lasts for 40 seconds, and because you deal so much damage, you don't even need those 40 seconds. You end them really fast. A good addition is always Surprise Bonus. When dealing skill damage, 50% chance to double the damage, which is great because we are casting a lot. But one of, if not the best, is going to be Magic Watch, specifically super early. If you can get this super early, there's a 33% chance to reset cooldown every time you use a primary or a skill. So if it didn't reset your primary, you can just dash to attempt to reset your primary again, and this will help you a lot until your runes are already fully set up. Now, for the golden ones, the best ones will be Energy Storage. Is just a primary capacity +1. Yes, it increases your cooldown, but we have so much reduction, and this is actually damage. Just because we also use the Energy Focus, which gives us damage per use. Now, these are the beneficial ones, but Lyn can be quite squishy, so you should be looking for some defensive upgrades and whatnot. So make sure you always look for 2 things when progressing with her: defensive scrolls and, the most importantly, weapon buffing scrolls, because your primary is going to need a time to get the cooldown back. So you will be using your weapon a lot early. So focus on weapon early, weapon levels, use the upgrades, get them leveled up. Just make sure, focus on weapons that can clear massive amounts of monsters, because bossing is still going to be really fine. It's just clearing areas early is going to suck if you do not have a good weapon. So that is a very big, important thing that you need to focus on. Now, I spoke about the Vitality Flow build. So now I'm going to go just a little bit fast, but I'm going to showcasing you what you need to focus when going for that build. So, of course, the first one will be Spirit Feline. Spirit Feline is the one that will start it up if you want it. And then is Dual Edge. Dual Edge is the best way to just not only ramp up your damage, is also ramp up your negative resistances. And while you're at it, Sanguine Relic is another fantastic one. It not only lowers our resistances, but gives us HP, so we are tanky. And it also recovers total HP when dealing damage. This is very, 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 very good when fully combined, and will help you just stack up all of this crazy damage that she can get with her passive. And then make sure you get Unbalanced to level 3, so every time you cause Unbalanced, you multiply your negative by ×3. And that would be a great overall endless build if you want to focus for that. Now, for her blessings. This is a pivotal part of the build, and for this specific one, we start with Lone Wolf, and we start with Overconsumption. Overconsumption is just really, really chill. You just start with it, you get a bunch of weapon damage and skill damage. It lowers your primary skill cooldown, you get movement speed, life. It just makes the entire Act 1 to Act 2 pretty consistently safe. When you start the game, however, you want to make a first pick. And the pick that you want to start with is Ultimate Execution. This gives you total damage of Frost Burial, which is great. And when the target is unbalanced, or HP is below lethal line, you deal Frost Burial damage to an additional enemy. This will help you clear a lot, and will help you a lot when there's a lot of elites, specifically, because you just gotta start spreading this out. She can clear elites like butter. Now, after that, it's kind of random. So, if you find these are going to be really great. One is Field Proficiency. The Lucky Shot doesn't matter, but the dash and primary skill cooldown is pretty great, and it goes up to 10 stacks, so 60% cooldown. Another one, and specifically for the season, would be Runic Energy Surge. This just gives you +1 to total energy sold in the store. So you just stack up and you start getting all of those runes at maximum level. It's very, very good, and it gives you a little bit of damage. In the same way is the other one, which is Charge Overload. This one is very, very good, especially if you picked Hyper Jokel, which allows you to trade in at the Act 4 entry one of your blessings to another one. Since this blessing, yes, it does a little bit of final damage for every point stuff has above, usually you don't end up with a lot. So this just gives you 3 runic energy when you pick it up. So it's a nice pickup. And for the Lyn specific ones, there's a few ones that are interesting to get. Shivering Bone is a way to get unbalanced on enemies when dealing damage to them. And you get a 50% total damage to unbalanced. This kinda helps with the shebangle of combo that we need to get with the combo of Frostbite Edge with Winter is coming in order to kinda loop the cooldown. This just always has a chance to proc unbalanced, so we don't need to do the cooldown reduction with having the enemy with a lot of weak spots. And with the speaking of weak spots, you have Crippling Torment. This generates +1 weak spot and has a less interval, so it generates more, but has a less unbalanced chance, which you don't really care, because our objective is just so they have more weak spots, so when we proc them, cooldown recovery from Winter is Coming is higher, so we can kind of keep spamming the unbalanced. For the array list, if you have this unlocked or not, this was pretty recently added. I personally have been using Condensation Array, which just makes it so when you finish Act 1, you get only 3 choices. You don't get a reroll, but they are really, really good. They go up to 19 total power, and they're always good corner upgrades. You'll see in the end of the video how I fully set up mine. This one is pretty good. Now, if you want to go for Endless, Dualism Array is a pretty good one, especially because you will want to go Arcane Box very likely, and this one get you a lot of points. So sadly, I lost the run for the introduction that you saw for the video because I played a lot of other characters. But I did one, and this one I tried to heavily focus on the Strength Taker to see if it felt good, felt bad. And as I said, it felt a little bit okay. Sometimes it was felt really powerful, sometimes it didn't felt really good. This is how my rune setup ended. It was not fully finished, but I also managed to get skill boost in here as well. In this run, we got the AoE, the Frostbite Edge, Lethal Chill, the Sudden Frost, and the Winter is Coming. So this run, all of the blue side was pretty strong. And for our blessings, we of course started with Ultimate Execution, and we got the Crippling Torment to create weak spots. For this, our specific one, we actually went positive in resistances. We managed to get 90%. We got Battle Scarred, and we got a few other ways to just get recovery, especially with Paranormality. We managed to get Magic Watch, which is a massive help against this. Then, of course, we get Enduring Caster and other stuff to get us defensively. Depending on the scrolls you get, you might get something like Piercing Bullet. And instead of Undivided Attention, which requires you only to use primaries, Piercing Bullet requires you to use a weapon. But because we don't want to shoot, there is a weapon that kind of cheeses out while we are spamming our primary, and that is Starfly. So it doesn't matter what the Starfly does. Starfly here is only to just hit the target once, so it procs Piercing Bullet, and there's sometimes a modifier on the boss that will require you to switch between doing primary skill damage or skill damage in general and weapon damage. So Starfly just also helps a lot with that. So if you see a lot of those things, they were pretty good. I also got Divine Energy, which gave me skill damage per rare, exclusive, normal inscription that I got in the weapon. I actually didn't even care to upgrade this much, but we got Wheel 3, so this was a pretty good boost for our damage. For the rest, this build felt really good. So, hope you enjoyed the showcase. Go test this build out. It's a blast. And if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoy the content, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, and see you on the next one.